Sherri, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
We're so excited that you were able to join us for our interview series with CHROs on how they are maintaining and building both employee engagement and culture in the era of COVID. It would be great if you could just catch us up on what's new with SeaWorld and what's going on with your culture and engagement efforts.
Yeah, sure. So SeaWorld, the company name is SeaWorld, but we actually operate 12 different theme parks all around the United States. Only 3 are SeaWorld. So we also have two Busch Gardens parks and a Sesame Place park with Sesame characters and several water parks. We have had a very interesting 2020 because we started the year, we had 2 amazing months in January and February. Everything was, guns a-blazing and really going to be great for having our best year ever. And then boom, mid-March, COVID hit. So we closed our parks for a couple of months, and depending on which park it was, and some are still closed. And therein kind of lies the dilemma, right? How do you keep employees engaged, both ones that are still at work and ones that are on furlough? So we at the time of COVID kind of impacting our business, we had about 16,500 employees active. It was not our busiest time of year. Usually in the summer, we had about 25,000 employees. But we furloughed 15,000 of our 16,500 employees, all in a 2-week period, all across the country, right? So trying to keep your HR department engaged while you're doing that is a special challenge. But and then we retained 1,500 people, and you might think, well, why would you do that? You just close the doors and go home. But unlike other theme parks and amusement parks, we have a lot of animals, and you still have to take care of the animals and feed the animals and do all the things you would do when you were open. Plus you have security, and I'm sure other businesses have these other things. You have security and maintenance and all those types of positions that you need to keep. So we ended up being in this really odd bifurcated situation where we had massive groups of people who were furloughed, desperately interested in getting back to work, calling us all the time and trying to keep those lines of communication open and that engagement there, as well as the people retained were working, 80-hour weeks, doing the job of 3 people, and that's a different type of motivation and engagement. The one thing that I think I'm really thankful for, and SeaWorld is very lucky about, is that our employees, which we call ambassadors, are so passionate about the work that we do, right? So it's not just taking care of animals. We have a huge conservation practice and group that does animal rescues and rehabs, gets animals returned back to the wild, and all of that continued, right? So we even had things like our season pass members for our parks. Many of them pay on a monthly basis, and for just like your Netflix subscription, right? And so many of our competitors had people who were angry, if you've closed the park, I'm not going to pay my monthly payment. And to be fair, we had some of that as well. But we also had people who would email us and call us and say, you know what, we had this one woman, I just lost my job. My husband is probably going to lose his job, but I don't want the animals to starve, so I'm going to keep paying you, right? So in those scenarios, it's easy to remain engaged in your work. And I think we're really fortunate that both our furloughed employees as well as our employees that were kind of on the essential team that continued working continue to be very engaged.
Well, and that emotional connection between your mission, your ambassadors, and your guests is so special. And that mission-driven purpose really, I'm sure, helped a lot with engagement during COVID. Given all the incredible moving parts that you and the business had going on, Sherri, like what were some of the things you just did to get folks through the day, through the week? during this time?
Yeah, so one of the things we did with what we called the essential employee team, the team that remained behind to
Mm-hmm.
keep the parks open, is we took a lot of our salaried staff
Mm-hmm.
and we said, you know what, you, Mr. or Miss Zoologist, you have to take care of the penguins. And part of your job every day is picking up the penguin poop or doing like some not sexy part of
Yeah.
taking care of whatever animal you're responsible for. We're going to get some of the accountants over here or the HR department to help you do that. So for example, in our Texas park, I had an HR guy who for 2 or 3 months, his whole job was to go like pick up penguin poop every day to help out the zookeepers who were responsible for the penguins. And I think that was also really interesting to see the salaried team, you know, kind of step up to do what were some difficult chores, right?
Yeah.
We did do other things, right? We were concerned about spending a lot of money, right? Because our parks were closed, but periodically our CEO would send out an email, or, you know, our park presidents would send something out, you know, telling everybody how much we appreciated them. We would also do things, you know, share notes from guests and things like that.
Yep. I think that insight you have of all hands on deck, and we are all going to do whatever we have to get through this period. I think there's something really insightful about that. You know, we saw it in our business as well, where the realization and the honesty with your employee population that these are obviously extraordinary times, and everyone has things going on in our life. We say, you know, our lives behind the Zoom going on. But when you make the ask, and there's clearly a commitment from everybody on the team, regardless of level, to kind of commit to the purpose and keep that going. I mean, I think with our company, and I know the same is true for yours, engagement levels can stay really high. And that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and I also think, so we were closed for 2 months, we're really almost 3 months straight. And then we started opening parks one by one, as you know, because you were one of our partners in doing that. And so after the first couple months, we started prepping for reopening. And certain teams, the HR team being one, we were working so hard, no one had time to think about whether they were engaged or not. But the work itself was very engaging, you know, to tell your recruiters, you are going to either return furloughed workers or hire 15,000 people in the next 6 months. Like, that's an incredible piece of work, right?
Yep.
Earlier in my career, I was the head of HR for a theme park built overseas, and we had 2 years to prepare for hiring 7,000 people. Here, we hired or returned 8,500 people in like 3 months, right? So that, and we're still doing it, right? So we still have some parks that are not at capacity and others that are still not open. So, you know, when you're working on something that monumental, the work itself becomes engaging.
And you can't have that kind of outcome without a level of engagement and culture that's clearly already in place today. And, you know, and thank you for recognizing the partnership. Obviously, it's very special to us to have been a part of that process. For our employees supporting that, it was really interesting when we talked about it as a team, because with COVID going on in their life, there's, you know, you have no control, right? Very little control on what's going on in your life. But one of our folks talked about, well, my ability to help contribute to people getting back to work is a way for me to contribute to this effort. And it was a sense of being part of something bigger than oneself that really brought a lot of people together to work towards that objective. And again, it was great engagement and culture that had nothing to do with rewards and benefits.
Yeah, that is truly the amazing thing, that people just banded together and, you know, just live for, you know, survive another day, get through today, and just keep the bigger goal ahead of you, in, you know, in your sights. And yeah, it's amazing what we've accomplished and continue to accomplish. And I think that in and of itself is very engaging.
Absolutely. We are all in this together, and the more everyone in the company can be on that same page, I think you're right, Sherri. It goes far beyond perks, and it really speaks to what we're all trying to do to keep delivering on our mission. So,
You
Sherri,
know,
I know how busy you are, so just thank you so much for taking some time out for this today.
sure, happy to do it.
All right, you take care and stay safe.
Thanks. All right, bye.
Bye.